how's it going everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for this video, I'm replacing the inner and outer tie rods for this 2005 Volvo S60R. Now before we can get started, I have to thank our sponsors, and the sponsor for today's video is fcpeuro.com. They are an online provider of genuine original equipment and OEM parts for your European cars. So if you have an Audi, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Saab, and of course Volvo, you can get all your replacement parts from fcpeuro.com. And perhaps the best thing about them is their lifetime replacement guarantee. So if any part breaks, if any part wears and tears, just send it back to them and they'll give you a free one. So for example, my tie rods, if for some reason they break down, I can just ask for another one. They'll send me a new set and I'll just return my old broken down set and they'll refund me my money. And of course, don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, learned something, please don't forget to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can get notified anytime we make a new video. And of course, if you feel like supporting us even more, check out our Patreon page, link down below, and also buy our Teespring shirts from our teespring.com account. Okay, so here we are. We just did the driver's side, and I thought it was gonna be easy, but it's not. There's a couple of tough things just because this is an older car, so a couple more things have a little bit more rust on them. It takes a little bit more elbow grease to take it off. But anyway, I have Chad here to help me out.
We've never done this on this car, or really any car for that matter. So learning as you go does take a lot of time. Now that we kind of know all the steps and all the process, this should be a... There's no wood near me. This should be a relatively quick process. It's not too complicated a job, but I'll leave that for Hanson to explain.
Yeah, so it's not too complicated because you're really just taking this nut off, and you're taking a jam nut off, and you're just taking this inner tie rod off. So it's fairly easy. You just need a couple of wrenches, but because this is an older car, it's not as straightforward. Things are a little bit more rounded off. But so normally, if you were just taking the outer tie rod off, you'd use an 18mm wrench to take this off. Now this is a ball joint, so you do need another wrench to prevent this from turning. We didn't have an 8mm wrench, so we used a 5/16, and this works pretty well. So just be very careful because you may round off this thing, but with a little bit of patience, a lot of penetrating fluid, you can take this off. So if you manage to get that off, you also need a 21mm wrench to take the jam nut off so you can back out the outer tie rod. This is really tough to take off because you got the friction between the jam nut and the outer tie rod, and you also have a lot of rust buildup on the threads. So what you could do here is use a lot of penetrating fluid and also apply some heat in the form of a blowtorch. But since we didn't have to do any of that because we are also replacing the inner tie rod, we decided to just skip that entire step and just take it off at the inner tie rod.
That's a good point, Hanson. Really, when you're doing this job on this car or any Volvo, or really for any car, for most cases, I would just recommend you get both inner and outer tie rods, both ends, just because this, we put a lot of force, we put a lot of heat through this, and it didn't budge. Yeah. Save yourself the aggravation, the time, and the effort. It's not that much more expensive to get the inner tie rods. Just save yourself the hassle and just get both.
And chances are, if this boot's toast, that one might be too. But since we just took out the entire unit, we did have to modify a couple of steps. We basically had to cut this boot so that we can get access to this guy.
Which now, at this point on that side was very cathartic. It's always nice when you can safely destroy parts on your car.
Absolutely. And once we got that off, we bought this tool from FCP Euro. This will allow you to just get a good grip on the inner tie rod, and then there's a 3/8 head on here so that you could just take it off pretty easily. And you'll need to use this to reinstall this inner tie rod on the steering rack because you need to apply a specific amount of torque. And for this one, you need 80 Newton meters or 59 foot-pounds.
Way to go all metric on them.
Well, we got to appeal to both parts of the world here, the metric and the standard.
Do we?
We do, unfortunately, because we work with the Volvos. The other thing that you need to worry about is these the clamps that come on with these boot covers. The one on this end where it meets the steering rack, this is like a one-time use boot cover clamps. You need a special tool to tighten this, but we just use the pair of dikes to kind of like cinch this closed, and it works decently well. And another quick tip is that since you're working on one side at a time, when you're trying to put this back on the steering rack, is straighten out your wheel so you don't have to stretch this as much. Any other quick tips, Chad, for this job?
These things are a pain in the rear end, but you just got to be patient, 1/4 turn at a time, getting this loose. Eventually it will get up to a point where it's loose and you can use a ratcheting style box wrench. So, but patience. This is an older car, not everything's going to be perfect. And you'll get there. It's not crazy difficult. It just requires a lot of patience, which not necessarily my strong suit, but it's his.
When you're taking this off, you're definitely going to throw off your alignment. You're going to throw off your toe. So if you're taking just the outer tie rod off, what I would suggest is that you count the number of turns where you unspool the outer tie rod off. But in my case, since we're taking out the entire unit, I just used calipers and I measured the number of threads on here.
This will get you most of the way there, but anytime you're doing suspension work, like Hanson said, go to a shop and get it properly aligned because it'll save a lot of issues. You've noticed a lot of like weird noises and vibrations. That could be down to alignment. It could be down to old parts like this. Could be down to, the missing screw that's over there.
Yeah, so this may not solve our vibration and some thumping issues when I'm driving down the road, but at least we'll replace this older part with a newer one. And it'll just to kind of give you a comparison. Old, new.
And this will tighten everything up. Hanson's obvious plan is to go autocrossing. This part may not be the ultimate culprit to what was causing the noises inside the cabin, but tightening everything up will make it that much more of a track weapon and help you defeat everything.
That's the plan. Well, there you have it, guys. Just installed the tie rods, the inner and outer tie rods, and I'm driving it now. And did I do a good alignment job? It's actually not that bad. It was the same way as before, but that's because, again, I didn't do any sort of formal alignment, so my steering wheel is still turned slightly to the right so I can go straight. So, need to take this to an alignment shop for sure so that this tracks straight. But did I solve my vibration issue? The weird thumping sound that I kept on hearing? I think so. The S60R still has a long way to go into becoming a race car, but before it can do that, we have to fix all of these little annoying things, bring it to stage 0, and then really rip some things apart. Let's wrap it up right there. If you learned anything, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get notified anytime we make a new video. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hanson, and I'll see you next time.